Hi everyone, I'm Søren, the Power Apps Viking. In this third video, we're going to be working with forms for our model-driven apps on the Power Platform. So the first thing we're going to do is go into our Power Apps environment, make sure we're in the correct environment here, and then go into the solution where we've been working in the two first videos. Then we go to solutions, and then we click on so for me, I'm clicking on my Power Apps Viking solution because that's where I've been creating my table so far. And now for my ship table, I want to go into that and work on the form. So the form is where we're actually putting in our data. So this is the interface for where most users are interfacing with their data and being able to create new data rows. So we're going to go into forms. And then for this scenario, and in most cases I would imagine, is that you're working on the main form. So we'll go into the main form, and I like to open this in a new tab, so I still have the solution open in my first tab. And let's just expand this menu here on the left side so we can see that we have access to the different components we can add to a form. We have the different table columns that are available. Right now we're seeing all of the unused columns. We can see a tree view of what the form looks like, how it's built. We can access some form libraries and some business rules for the form. Now, for every single form, every single table, we have a main form. So this is the main form we're looking at. And as a standard, sort of the default thing is that we have the name and the owner fields already added. And we can see these are mandatory fields as well. But we want to add some of these columns. But we want to add some of these columns that we created as well. So what we're going to do is find them here in our overview of table columns and add this. So let's start by adding the date fields that I created here. So we'll start with the start date and the end date field. Then we're going to add the ship type, and we're going to add the number of crew members as well. Let's take a look at the components I was talking about before. We have a couple of different components. This is the way the forms are built. So we can see here in the top, we have the tabs. That's what it's called. This is the general tab we're working on here. Then we have what is called a section. This is sort of this white box that we're within. And for each section, we have these different fields or the columns that we're actually inputting in. We can have a number of different tabs here, and for each tab it's possible to have these sections, and these sections can be either in different columns, or it can be one column as we're seeing it here. And within a section it's also possible to have several columns. So it's possible to have different sections, and it's also possible to have columns spread out within the section. As possible, some of the possible graphical space or options you can play around with. Now here we also want to have an overview of the trips. So this is the relationship to the trip table we have. So let's go ahead and also add a new one column tab. We can see here it shows up as a new tab. I want to give this a name. So this is the trip tab, so I'll call it this. For this section, I'm going to call it the trip section. And here fill this out for the logical name as well. And I don't need to see this, so I'm just going to select hide this label. And then I'm going to add a subgrid. Now what a subgrid is this gives me an overview to see all of those records from the related table that are related again to this specific ship here. So what I want to do is select here that I only want to show related records. So now I'm tapping into the relationship I made between these tables, and then I can find the trips table here and select that from the ship table here. And then this control here is going to have a label as well. So I'm just going to hide that label. Let's just name this control correctly. So this is the trip subgrid, and put this in as the logical name as well with the underscore. And now here we have an overview of all the trips for this specific ship. So now that I've created my form for the ship table, I'm going to go ahead and click on Save and Publish. So now that this form has been saved and published, I can go ahead and close this because this was opened as a new tab. And now I'll go into the trip table here, look at the columns that are available here. I'll add some new columns here, so I want to have a overview of when this trip was started. Add a start date, that's a date only field. I'll add the end date. That is a date only field as well. And now I want to go in and select the form, so add to the trip form here as well. So what I can do is from columns, I can just quickly get to the form here. I could also do it here from the hierarchy in the side menu on the left, and then open the main form in a new tab here as well. And here I'm going to add the start date, the end date, and the ship fields. So here I can, for each trip, I'm able to look up a specific ship and select that was for the ship that was used for that trip. I'm going to click on Save and Publish for this form as well. And now this is saved and published. I can close this tab again. Now what we also want to do is we want to be able to quickly create trips for when we're working when we're looking at a ship. So we can easily just add a new trip there. So instead of having to go into the main form, what we can do is actually add something that's called a quick create form. So first we need to enable this on the trip table itself. So I'm going to go back here, navigate to the trip table and look at the properties for the table. Under Advanced Options, and then I need to select that we can leverage quick create forms if available. Click on Save. Then when that is done, I'm going to go back to Forms, and here I need to add a new form because this is not a standard form. Then we're creating a new quick create form, and we can see that the interface for this is also a little bit different. We have some standard sections that are added here. Then under the first section, we'll go to that. We'll add a name of this trip. We'll add the start date, the end date, and the ship that is in question here. Then we will just hide these two sections that we're not using. And this section we will rename. So this is the trip overview. And we'll call the module name here as well, trip overview here. And let's go ahead and save and publish this quick create form. And once this quick create form is done publishing, saving and publishing, you can go back. This was not opened in a new tab because we were creating the new form, so that doesn't automatically open a new tab. Here we can also see, the name of the form here is called trip quick create form. So what that does is that when we're looking at a specific ship and we want to add a new trip to this, instead of having to go into the main form of the trip table, we can now access this quick create form, which doesn't navigate away from the ship form. We're able to fill out some of this information and save trips for this. How this is going to look, we're going to see once we get to the last part of actually creating the app. So that was a quick intro to working with forms for your model-driven apps on the Power Platform. So join me for the next video where we're going to look at views for model-driven apps. Bye everyone.